She's got questions to ask and a fire that won't die, unraveling each task under the sky.
Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone today? Oh, yeah, I guess I should, if I were to click over here, I could see people when they say hello back, right? If I actually looked at the comments and whatnot. Hello, Peggy. You're home from surgery. Good. So it all went well, obviously. They've sent you home. Um, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. So now it's just a matter of slow and steady, bit of one day at a time, and just heal totally. Um, you got to remember that the surgery isn't the biggest part of it. It's the recovery afterwards. You got to make sure you heal completely. So you take care of yourself. Um, I wish there was a way to move the chat over to that side because I've moved the camera. You get to see more of my apartment, which means that I have to keep more of it tidy. That here, I'll um, that way. Okay. So in the corner, right behind me, that's the old cat stand, and there's a chair there with my toolbox that way there. With my toolbox, and usually that's where all my recycling and whatnot sits. And I can't let it sit there now because, well, because you guys can see it. But even though that means that I have to keep more of this space, tidy and all, I like it better over here. I like the camera better over on this side. So that's what we're doing for now. Um, yeah, it's Behold the Pale Horse, chapter 17. Um, sorry, I'm still out of sorts. I've spent the last 2 days bawling my eyes out about Jeff. And if it weren't for the Legal Vices mod Discord, um, I don't think I would be as good as I'm doing today. I don't think I'd be anywhere near it. Vices Vices had a Discord for us mods so that we could talk and we could share links for guest links and all of that stuff. But it turned into a home, and there's a few of us who have been in there since day one. I mean, we were OG Vices. Um, so we were in there and we've been getting to know each other um, and each other's lives and, the IRL shit that you don't really discuss, you know? Um, so we've really gotten to know each other and really love each other. And if it weren't um, for those people in there with me, um, I don't know if I would have been getting through it like I am. We spent all day yesterday and the day before and into the night because, of course, we're all international. We're not all on the same time zone because that would just make life easy, right? But we were in there all day and all night and just keeping each other up, um, remembering and laughing, um, reaching out to each other. We were so blessed. Uh, Jeff's son, um, Jeff's son had no idea about Jeff until he was gone. And in a way, I know that's going to tickle Jeff to no end that he got it over on his family and his IRL friends. And he's laughing, saying, look what I got. Look what I did. You guys had no idea, but look at what I was doing. And his son has got years of streams to watch and laugh at um, and enjoy like we had. And I think that's brilliant. So he was very surprised, but we managed to get a hold of him, and he has come into the mod Discord, the Vices mod Discord, and so we were talking with him off and on all afternoon and evening. Well, at least my time, afternoon and evening, um, and getting to know him. And he's got that same sense of humor. Um, I didn't I didn't go back and listen to Megan's while he was on. I just couldn't do that. I was better off chatting with people than watching more videos. I couldn't watch more videos right now. Mindset. I'm sorry. I mean, I doubt you're ever even going to look at this, but yeah, I can't watch yours yet. Memes got me, and I haven't seen potentially Sean's either. I can't do that. I'm in sadness overload, but I will watch them. I've got them all saved, so I can go back later. But anyways, so in a way, we've still got a part of Jeff. His son is definitely his own man, um, with his own thoughts. Um, but you can see Jeff in him, and it's really cool. And I am very very blessed to have been able to meet him too. He's at 98.5. Rock on. I didn't go into the mod Discord today because I knew I was streaming and I'm trying to keep it together. I have not really cried. I've maybe a tear or two today, but I've been focused on getting here. So I haven't been on there yet, but I will be going on there and checking soon. As soon as this is done. Oh, memes having a hard time of it. Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. I mean, yeah. I miss him so much, and I never met the man in person. And it's funny because I haven't seen him. Like I felt bad because I've been shirking my duties. This last year, my schedule had been turned upside down, literally. So there's no way I could get up for him. And then my life changed, and I was just finally getting up and being able to get into the streams before he ended the lives. And I was, doing better, and I was so excited that I could finally start to join them again. So I feel really guilty and upset with myself that I had that time and I didn't take it. So yeah, I don't know. I feel I feel a lot of things, but either which way, I'm doing better today than I was yesterday, and that was better than yesterday, the day before. Um, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, they're both, like I said, like those guys knew him. For me, he changed my life, but this last year I hardly spoke to the man. You know, so I'm feeling really guilty about that. Um, and those guys, they would have like Megan and Flux, Ozzy, they would have spoken every single day. You know, so I can't imagine what they're going through. I just can't imagine what they're going through. Um, because this sucks. But hi, Bobby. Oh, hi, Bobby. Oh, it's the frog. Good to see you. I ate an apple. I ate an apple. I need to do grocery shopping. Maybe I should get an apple and eat it too. Mine come fresh from the orchard, just, you know, just down the way. It's lovely. Oops, clicking on the wrong button. Hello, Stingy. How you doing? His, I don't know, kind of a reddish one. Did it have bumps on the bottom, or was it round? Hiyo. How you doing? Um, and yeah, if you didn't, I think I said hi to Sheni already, but maybe not. She's saying hi to everyone. Um, yeah, it's just weird. It's just different. And like I said, I can't imagine someone who talked to him on the daily. I can't imagine how those guys and girls are doing. I can't. But anyways, I loved that man very much, and he told me to do this. He told me to do this a while ago, and I dragged ass, but I'm going to do this now. So, so there you go. I've got one cat. Nope. uh, there. Huh? Sweets is sleeping. When I can figure it out, she's sleeping over there. And then if I move my head, no, other way, that big blob over there on the green, that's Boo. She's sleeping over there. Um, you like my blanket door? I've got two blanket doors. You you'd be surprised at just how much difference it makes, though, hanging the blankets there. Um, any which way. Bumps, da fuck. Okay, so it was around. It was obviously a round apple. Okay. I'm not certain what that would be. Um, but I know there's differences, so I was asking because I wanted to sound smart. I know there's difference. I just can't remember what they are, and with my silly brain, the way it works, the only apples I can think of right now are Gala, and those things are brilliant to eat. They're larger, and they're not red; they're more of the greeny yellow. They're round, no bumps. um, the really red, dark red ones that are almost more oblong, and it has four round bumps on the bottom end, so it like sits really pretty on a table. Those ones are brilliant for pies, um, baking. No balls, no balls. It's more round like a ball, but that's the Gala one. Oh my goodness. Anyways, apples to apples was a brilliant kids game, and I'm using that as a segue somehow. Hello, Queen. Thank you. Thank you for saving me. I was getting pulled down the apple rabbit hole. Oh, that's so awesome. It's good. It's so good to see you, Queen. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You're awesome. Oh, yeah. Bobby's missed you. He was saying. And Bobby says apple is a throw-in fruit. No way. You don't waste apples. Those things are tasty. Well, maybe that's something you guys do down in your end of the world, neck of the woods. But we eat them here. There's a lot of money to be made in apples where I am. um, but yeah, we're here. It's been 16 minutes and 20 seconds now. Lovely. That's always fun. Have a little counter like telling me to hurry the fuck up. I'm 16 minutes in. Hopefully that's good enough. Shenny's saying hi to Queen too. A protein without interruption to Bobby. Oh, you need Bobby to clip Queen saying protein. All right. Fair enough. I can still hear her in my head when Shenny says protein. I still hear it in Queen voice. But with that, we are on chapter 17. Where is it? There. Behold a pale horse. Hold it still. There we go. Written by Bill Cooper, first edition, 1991. And we're on chapter 17. This is the very first thing we read in here. We've got the documentation, U.S. Army intelligence connection with Satanic Church. So that's going to be fun. We've got a lot of top secret and official papers to read through, declassified and whatnot. But then after chapter 17, we get into Appendix A. So you know what that means? That means we're done. Like, we're not done because, of course, we'll go through the appendices and all that. I'm going to have to get really good at taking pictures without shaking, because I think that's going to be the easiest way to do this, to get the information out. I think if I can, I'm going to have to take a picture of each page so that I can then show it on screen and we can zoom in and discuss. Unless, of course, you would rather me just upload the technical stuff. There is, what is it here? Appendix B is the UFOs in Area 51. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's up to you guys. We'll do this one because it's the last chapter, and then you guys can let me know. Do you just want the information, and we can go over it all together in stream, or would you rather me just upload it to my channel, just the like the images images that play in a series, and then you guys can pause and go into each one that you want as you want it. I'll ask you. Yeah, anyways, my brain's just not here. Yeah. I'm going to read 17. Let's read 17 and we'll deal with the rest, because the very first thing we're about to read, like I said, is documentation of the U.S. Army intelligence connection with Satanic Church. So this is fun. This will be interesting. We all want it'll be interesting to find out what the Satanic Church has to do with the Army intelligence, because I kind of know. I know some of the links. I don't know if those links are going to be discussed here, but some of them are, because I saw the guy's picture. But Army intelligence has had a lot to do with the Satanic Church. It's yeah, it's quite interesting. And then, of course, the Satanic Church broke off from another religion that was originally came from Britain. It's all mixed up with the Masons and all the other secret societies. But that's like 3 or 4 or 5 other topics completely separate from this chapter. Um, so I will finish this, and then I will ask you guys on a community page poll or something like, how do we where do you want to go from here? Are you guys done with the book? Do you want to discuss all the different information in the appendices and go through that more in depth? Um, you guys can let me know. So yeah, I'll get right on that. Just like I got on the uploading the pages. See, I've got to take pictures of everything to upload it anyways, because the last page or last chapter had all that math stuff that I horrendously attempted to read, and I brutalized so badly. So I've got to take pictures of that and put it in like a link to all of that stuff in the description, and the same thing with this, so you guys can let me know. But I'm just babbling. I'm not getting anywhere. Yes, Bobby, you are 100% correct. Brains are for dorks. And this dork brain, or this brain. Yes, I am not a dork, nor do I have a brain. On that note, let's do this, eh? So we've got the Department of the Army, United States Army Criminal Investigation Command. Has an address in Falls Church, Virginia. The subject is possible adverse suitability information. Ooh, that's a nice political mumbo jumbo there, hey? Bobby says female cop drawn gun doggo cop. Okay, I was thinking female cop draws taser, gun suspect. Oops, gun. Does that work? I have no idea what you're saying otherwise. Oh, hello, Sammy. How you doing? I was wondering about you. That yellow face. Maybe you can help understand the female cop drawn gun doggo cop. Oh, Sammy says doggo doesn't die. Ah, still doesn't help me. All right, let's do this stuff. So yeah, it was just, that was a 4-word subject that encompasses absolutely everything. Possible adverse suitability information. Like, yeah. Number 1, reference Telecom LTC Jones and Mr. Berkeley. Number 2, LAW referenced Telecom. The following information is provided. A. On 21st July 1981, the undersigned was contacted by Officer Sandy Daly, Intelligence Unit, San Francisco, California, Police Department, with the phone number included. She related that in the course of an investigation of an alleged satanic cult known as the Temple of Set, the Temple of Seti. No, it is Set. This has got human handwriting over top of the teeny tiny printing. So it just got worse as we went through the book. The writing gets smaller and smaller, and now they've made it teeny tiny, and they've got humans circling things, and which is horrendous to read through. All right. She related that in the course of an investigation of an alleged satanic cult known as the Temple of Set, she came across information that the leader of the group, a Mr. Michael A. Aquino, date of birth 16 October 1946, with an address in San Francisco, was allegedly a major in the U.S. Army Reserve associated with a military intelligence unit in the San Francisco area. Further, two other members of the group, a Dennis Mann, an NFI, and a Willie Browning, female NFI, were also USAR officers associated with an MI unit in the Los Angeles, California area. B. An informal check with the RCPAC reveals that their roles contain personnel with the names indicated and that Aquino is a major, armor, and Mann and Browning, captains, military intelligence. 3. Officer Daly was advised of the fact that a possibility existed that her information was accurate and that since it was not a criminal matter, military intelligence would be advised and would likely contact her. She indicated a willingness to share any information which they had developed. Haha, she's so innocent and young. How sweet. What is that? That sweet summer child? Is that the saying? Hi, Brian. How you doing? And hello, AP. Good to see you. It's still morning here. Shush. I feel like I haven't done anything in days. So we're learning right now about the connection between Army intelligence and the Satanic Church. Fun, fun. Oh, my sweet summer child. Thank you, Brian. That's exactly it. It sounds like Officer Daly thought that she was going to get information from them. Meanwhile, they're going to suck every single bit of information she's got out of her and send her packing. That's signed just by the by. The memo is signed by Lieutenant Colonel Chief Investigative Policy and Studies Division. And this is a declassified thing. The Danny C15 updated first indication of the possible adverse suitability information, again, headquartered in Washington, D.C., 18 November 81, to Commander, U.S. Armed Forces Command, attention AFIN-CS, Fort sorry. It's 2:30 Eastern, the only time zone. See, now that's not true. I'm learning that there's this whole swath of North America where people are actually just 2 hours ahead of me. Like, where were these people all my life? I could have sworn there was Pacific and there was Eastern. I had no idea. I was humbled to find out that there was a whole section of North America, my country and yours, that are only 2 hours ahead. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. I know you guys out in the middle there. You guys exist. But yeah, for me, it's only 11:30 still. Only 11:30. And I'm up, showered, clean clothes, and on a camera. So I'm doing pretty freaking good today. So this is another sent to Washington this time, um, or from Washington to the U.S. Army Force Command, um, Fort McPherson. One, confirming phone con, Mr. Honea. Yeah. Mr. Honea, Mr. Pell, concerning subject 16 November 1981, forwarded herewith letter from the USACIDC for your information and necessary action. 2. A check of the files of the Federal Bureau of Investigation concerning the Temple of Set reflected no record of such an organization. Interesting. How does the FBI not know that that exists? The FBI is supposed to be policing inside the country. You'd think they'd know it was there in San Francisco. They might have an idea that maybe. Interesting. They have no record of any such organization. And 3, request this office be advised of your findings concerning the allegations noted in the basic letter, which we just read, for the Assistant Chief of Staff for Intelligence, and that's from Donald Press, Colonel, Director of Counterintelligence. Then we have AFIN-CSP. I'm assuming that's Air Force Intelligence, but I don't know what the N-CSP is. But this is the second indication, so this is the next response to the chain. Subject, possible adverse suitability information from Fort McPherson, 23rd November 1981. To, it says C distribution with references. Or no, it says C distribution, and then these are the references for the last two. A, AR 604-5, and B, CCF LOI SO-1. So yeah, those are the file numbers. 2, forwarded as a matter possibly pertaining to a member of your command if local resources reveal information warranting action under reference B above. 3, additionally, request compliance with paragraph 3, first endorsement, with copy sent to this headquarters. 4, the names mentioned in basic communication have been tentatively identified as follows based on data from RCPAC and CCF. So it's A, it's got Aquino Michael A. Major. It's got his phone number, his address, and he's signed Presidio of San Francisco, California, Directorate RC Support. B is Man Dennis K., who's a captain. Same thing, at phone number, address. He's assigned to 6th U.S. Army, USAR. 306 PSYOPs with a building number and address in Fort MacArthur, San Pedro. And C, Browning Willie M., also a captain, assigned to Fort Hood, Texas. Second, ARHHC, ARHNC. It's teeny tiny printing. And that one's signed by George Durham, Lieutenant Corporal? Yeah, Lieutenant Corporal. The next response, this is the distribution. So this goes to the commander of the 6th U.S. Army, Presidio of San Francisco, commander of Fort Hood, and the commander, Presidio of San Francisco, The first one was Mr. Miyoshi, and the second one was Miss Liston. Sent on 23rd November 1981. And then we've got the third, what did they call it? I can't find it. Either which way. So this is the next response back. HQ 6th U.S. Army, Presidio, San Francisco, 9 December 1981. To Commander U.S. Army Forces Command, attention AFIN-CSP Fort McPherson. 1. Returned without motion. Oh. To information mentioned in paragraph 2, basic letter, concerning Michael A. Aquino was favorably adjudicated and top secret clearance granted 9 June 1981 by the U.S. Army Central Personnel Security Clearance Facility. 3. Recommend this investigative file pertaining to Michael A. Aquino be received at the U.S. Army Central Personnel Security Clearance Facility, Fort George, Meade, Maryland. For the Commander, John W. Richards, Lieutenant Commander, Chief Intelligence and Security. And then the response back to them saying, nope, fuck you. Not going to do it. You don't know nothing. You don't want to know nothing. Fuck you. So they go back from Forest Con, Fort McPherson, 18th December 1981, to the Commander Headquarters, Washington, D.C., Mr. Fall. Number 1, attention is invited to previous endorsement. Number 2, the same not unfavorable and inconclusive information is generally reported telephonically free. Okay, is generally reported telephonically from other recipients of our second endorsement, allegations in the basic letter. And that's going to the Commander, George E. Durham, Lieutenant Commander, Assistant Adjunct General. They're really not happy with each other. All right, this will be a little bit easier. Now we're getting into some more like reading, but I really like the bitching, the pettiness in those notes, those memos back and forth. And totally, they did not want to work with each other, and everyone was telling everyone else to fuck off, and I appreciate that. And it was all done in officialese, so it reads dry, but if you're paying attention, they're really being bitchy. So anyway, here's the memo for file number 81-776, dated July 1st, 1981. Intelligence Temple of Set. The history. The Temple of Set is a satanic group under the leadership of Michael A. Aquino. It is a splinter spin-off group from Anton LaVey's, there we go, Church of Satan in San Francisco. They separated from LaVey's organization when that organization was undergoing a metamorphosis in 1975. It is a small group, but nonetheless has several hundred members and operates on a national level. Aquino is the official head of the organization and rules the organization through a council of 9, who are in fact his chief lieutenants. An interesting aspect of the Temple of Set is its seeming obsession with the military. One aspect of this obsession is the group's fascination with the Nazi movement, the Yahtzee movement. Sorry, YouTube. The Yahtzee movement, with many of them wearing, on occasion, World War II German uniforms and insignia. A more sinister aspect of their military fascination. Oh, there's a human writing note. The Yahtzee movement, with many of them wearing, on occasion, World War II German uniforms and insignia, they discovered that was called the Order of the Trazoid. Traazoid. Trazoid. Okay, cool. So yeah, the Trazoid. I don't know if I've heard of the Trazoid. Maybe I'm just not saying it right, and so I would recognize it otherwise, but I don't think I've ever seen that word. I know I haven't seen that. Anyways, a more sinister aspect of their military fascination is in the fact that Michael Aquino holds a commission as a major in the U.S. Army Reserve, with his military specialty being military intelligence. He purports to his members that he reports directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. This is probably a gross exaggeration, but it is a fact that he holds a major's commission and deals in the area of military intelligence. Two of his lieutenants, a female named Willie Browning, is also a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve in an intelligence unit out of Los Angeles. Another lieutenant in his group is a reserve U.S. Army officer named Dennis Mann. He too is involved in intelligence activities. Aquino Michael A. Michael Aquino, as previously stated, is the espoused head of the Temple of Set. He is apparently well educated and holds a PhD in political science, and is a professor at Golden Gate College in San Francisco. His specialty is Western European political affairs. Aquino resides on Leavenworth Street in San Francisco. The number is believed to be 2430. He resides at that address with his girlfriend, children of his girlfriends, and his mother. His father separated from the family some time ago and lives in Southern California. Allegedly, Aquino has sexual identity problems and is known to frequent prostitutes in San Francisco in order to become involved in various forms of sadomasochistic sexual activities. It is believed that Aquino is bisexual. Projections. While the Temple of Set was always by definition somewhat bizarre, it seems to be going through its own form of metamorphosis. They are returning to the practice of holding black masses, of which is scheduled for July. Oh, one of which is scheduled for July 1981 in San Francisco at an unknown hotel on Fisherman's Wharf. It is also rumored that the group is becoming potentially more and more violent as it recruits the less intellectual and more undesirable level of people, such as former members of Hell's Angels and similar motorcycle gangs. It is also rumored that they are starting to engage in animal sacrifices. Additionally, Aquino is speaking within the organization that the time has come for him to make his political moves. This is probably in relation to his position in the Army Reserve. End of memo. And then it's got a news article that's been mimeographed and then photocopied and eventually made it into the book. So the headline says, Devil worshipper holds sensitive army post and top brass say no problem. A senior U.S. military intelligence officer with a secret security clearance admits he's also the founder and high priest of a satanic church. And amazingly, the Army says no problem. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino, a 41-year-old former Green Beret, confirmed to the Inquirer, there we go, that he's been involved in devil worship for 22 years. He said he formed his own satanic church, the Temple of Set, in 1975 after belonging to another sect, the Church of Satan, for the previous 10 years. My religion has been no secret in the army, he said, who served as a psychological warfare specialist in Vietnam. Whew, and is now a reserve officer working full time on extended duty at the Army's Reserve Personnel Center in St. Louis. He had He admitted satanic terminology is used in his church's rituals, adding, "We are quite proud of that." But William Gill, executive director of the Catholic War Veterans, fumed. No way. The Catholic got angry. "This is outrageous and a national disgrace. It's unbelievable that an admitted devil worshiper should be allowed to hold a senior and sensitive post in the U.S. Army. This abominable situation insults insults the memory of those who have fought and often died to uphold the traditional values of our great country. Citizens have a right to expect our military to uphold the traditional values of God and country, not the evil ramblings of some satanic sect." Colonel Aquino's Satanic Church is advertised in the Yellow Pages in San Francisco, where he was stationed from 1981 to 1986. He says most members are in the US and Canada, although we have a sprinkling of members in places like Western Europe and the Pacific. The Constitution's see? The Constitution's guarantee of freedom of religion protects Colonel Aquino from action by the Army, said Lieutenant Colonel Greg Bixson, an Army public affairs officer in Washington, D.C. As long as an individual's religious practice remains within the limit of the law, there is no problem. Colonel, oh no, Colonel Rickson said. But Catholic War Veterans Director Gill blasted that stand. For the Army to say no problem is mind-boggling. This disturbing situation is a problem for everyone who is concerned about national security and morality. The U.S. Army is no place for worshippers of the Prince of Darkness. uh, all right. So I've actually got a cover letter. Do you guys remember? I don't know if any of you are old enough. Once upon a time, you would have like a file or a document, and you would have to fax it. And so it always came, you had to make a cover letter first. It tells you where it's going to, who it's coming from, and little notifications like that. So I've got one of those. Holy crap, we're old. Or I'm old anyways, because I recognized it right away. So the cover letter has the emblem of the country or of the company, headquarters of Imperial Stormtrooper Force, Office of the Chief of Staff, Mind War Center, Hub 4. That's that's what it says. You still do cover letters like that, okay? And then in handwriting, it says final version going to military review, C and GSC, plus parameters for the war course, I think, and PSYOP community. And it's got a signature, and the signature hasn't been printed out, so I have no idea who it is. It might start with an M or a W. It's very vague. However, this is what they were sending. So from PSYOP to Mind War. Okay. So this is going to Mind War. I was right. That's The Psychology of Victory by Colonel Paul E. Valley, Vailey with Major Michael A. Aquino. Lieutenant Commander John Alexander's military review article in support of psychotronics, the intelligence and operational employment of ESP, was decidedly provocative. Criticism of research in this area, based as it is on existing frontiers of scientific law, brings to mind the laughter that greeted the Italian scientist Spallanzini in 1794 when he suggested that bats navigate in the dark by means of what we now call sonar. If they see with their ears, do they hear with their eyes? Went the joke. But I suspect that the U.S. Navy is glad someone took the idea seriously enough to pursue it. Psychotronic research is in its infancy, but the U.S. Army already possesses an operational weapons system designed to do what Lieutenant Commander Alexander would like ESP to do, except that this weapons system uses existing communications media. This doesn't have a date. Oh, that would be interesting. I would like to know the date, because we do know what Facebook allegedly came from. Allegedly. So it would be interesting to know when this was written, how much before such a thing happened, because that would, yeah, that would connect some dots. So the weapon system is designed to do what Lieutenant Alexander would like ESP to do, except that this weapon system uses existing communications media. It seeks to map the minds of neutral and enemy individuals and then to change them in accordance with U.S. national interests. It does this on a wide scale, embracing the military units, regions, nations, and blocks. In its present form, it is called Psychological Operations, or PSYOP. Does PSYOP work? Is it merely a cosmetic with which field commanders would rather not be bothered? Had the question been asked in 1970, the answer would have been that PSYOP works very well indeed. In 1967 and 1968 alone, a total of 29,276 armed Viet Cong/NVA, the equivalent of 95 enemy infantry battalions, surrendered to ARVN or MACV forces, or MACV forces under the Chuhoi Amnesty Program, the major PSYOP effort of the Vietnam War. At the time, MACV estimated that the elimination of that same number of enemy troops in combat would have cost us 6,000 dead. I remember that they surrendered. All of them. They just surrendered and marched out. That was pretty interesting. And yeah, that was an admitted now, like a declassified. So it's okay, YouTube, it's declassified. But yeah, I've learned about that from other angles. That's interesting. So we know that one then, because they did. It was like 24,000 something guys actually walked out. They were armed. They had the potential to fight. Like it said, it would have cost, MACV estimated that the elimination of that same number of enemy troops in combat would have cost us 6,000 dead. On the other hand, we lost the war, not because we were outfought, but because we were out psyoped. Our national will to victory was attacked more effectively than we attacked that of the North Vietnamese and Vietnam and Viet Cong. And perception of this fact encouraged the enemy to hang on until the United States finally broke and ran for home. So our PSYOP failed. It failed because its principles were unsound. Not because its principles were unsound, but rather because it was outmatched by the psyop of the enemy. The Army's efforts enjoyed some battlefield success, but Mac v psyop did not really change the minds of the enemy populace, nor did it defend the U.S. populace at home against the propaganda of the enemy. Furthermore, the enemy's psyop was so strong that it, not bigger armies or better weapons, overcame all the Cobras and Spookies and ACABs and B-52s we fielded. The lesson is not to ignore our own psyop capability, but rather to change it and strengthen it so that it can do precisely the kind of thing to our enemy in the next war. Ooh. Better hardware is nice. Hardware is nice, but by itself it will change nothing if we do not win the war for the mind. The first thing it is necessary to overcome is the view of psyop that limits it to routine, predictable, over-obvious, and hence marginally effective leaflet and loudspeaker applications. Battlefield devices of this sort have their place, but it should be that of an accessory to the main effort. That main effort cannot begin at the company or division level. It must originate at the national level 1. Sorry, some of these lines have been just nearly erased with the amount of times that it's been photocopied. It must originate at the national level. 1, it must strengthen our national will to victory, and it must attack and ultimately destroy that of the enemy. It both causes and is affected by physical combat, but it is a type of war which is fought on a far more subtle basis as well in the minds of the national populations involved. So let us begin with the simple name change. We shall rid ourselves of the self-conscious, almost embarrassed concept of psychological operations. In its place, we shall create mind war. The term is harsh and fear-inspiring, and so it should be. It is a term of attack and victory, not one of rationalism and coaxing and conciliation. The enemy may be offended by it. That is quite all right as long as he is defeated by it. A definition is offered. Mind war is the deliberate, aggressive convincing of all participants in a war that we will win that war. That sounds familiar. It is deliberate in that it is a planned, systematic, and comprehensive effort involving all levels of activity from the strategic to the tactical. It is aggressive because opinions and attitudes must be actively changed from those antagonistic to us to those supportive of us if we are to achieve victory. We will not win if we content ourselves with countering opinions and attitudes instilled by the enemy governments. We must reach the people before they resolve to support their armies, and we must reach those armies before our combat troops ever see them on battlefields. Compare this definition with that of psychological warfare as first offered by General William Donovan of the CSS in his World War II era Basic Estimate of Psychological Warfare. Oh, hi, Mr. Q. Thank you so much. Say hi to Johnny. So the definition of the original psychological warfare. Psychological warfare is coordination and use of all means, including the moral and physical, by which the end is attained, other than those of recognized military operations, but including the psychological exploitation of the result of those recognized military actions, which tend to destroy the will of the enemy to achieve victory and to damage his political or economic capacity to do so. which tend to deprive the enemy of the support, assistance, or sympathy of his allies or associates or of neutrals, or to prevent his acquisition of such support, assistance, or sympathy, or which tend to create, maintain, or increase the will to victory of our own people and allies, and to inquire, maintain, or increase the support, assistance, and sympathy of neutrals. If the euphemism psychological operations resulted from, as one general officer put it in 1947 letter, a great need for a synonym which could be used in peacetime that would not shock the sensibilities of a citizen or a democracy, then it may have succeeded domestically. On the other hand, it does not seem to have reassured the sensibilities of the Soviets, who in 1980 described the U.S. Army PSYOP as including unpardonable. Sorry. This is the Soviets complaining. This is the Soviets complaining, who in 1980 described the U.S. Army PSYOP as including unpardonable methods of ideological sabotage, including not just flagrant lies, slander, and disinformation, but also political blackmail, provocation, and terror. End quotes. Oh, those poor Soviets. The big mean Americans. They were so mean. The reluctance with which the Army has accepted even an antiseptic PSYOP component is well documented in Colonel Alfred Paddock's brilliant treatise on the history of the PSYOP establishment. Again and again, if efforts to forge this weapon into its most effective configuration were frustrated by leaders who could not or would not see that wars are fought and won or lost not on battlefields but in the minds of men. As Colonel Paddock so aptly concludes, in quotes, in a real sense, the manner in which psychological and unconventional warfare evolved from 1941 until their union as a formal army capability in 1952 suggests a theme that runs throughout the history of special warfare. The story of a hesitant and reluctant army attempting to cope with concepts and organizations of an unconventional nature. End quotes. According to present doctrine, PSYOP is considered an accessory to the main effort of winning battles and wars. The term generally used is force multiplier. It is certainly not considered a precondition to command decisions. Thus, PSYOP cannot predetermine the political or psychological effectiveness of a given military action. It can only be used to paint that action in the best possible colors as it is taken. Every time you watch the stream, the plant decides to give you an emergency sample. It's par for the course, right? Mind war cannot be so relegated. It is, in fact, the strategy to which tactical warfare must conform if it is to achieve maximum effectiveness. The mind war scenario must be preeminent in the mind of the commander and must be the principal factor in his every field decision. Otherwise, he sacrifices measures which actually contribute to winning the war to measures of immediate tangible satisfaction. Consider the rationale for body counts in Vietnam. Accordingly, PSYOP combat support units, as we now know they must become. Oh, mimeographing. I'm so glad we've gotten past that bit. Today's emergency is, does the water catch fire? Does this water catch fire? Okay, that makes sense. Because if it does, it's probably not water. So accordingly, the combat support units, as we now know them, they must become a thing of the past. Mind war teams must offer technical expertise to the commander from the onset of the planning process and at all levels down to that of the battalion. Such teams cannot be composed, as they are now, of branch immaterial officers and NCOs who know simply the basics of tactical propaganda operations. They must be composed of full time experts who strive to translate the strategy of national mind war into tactical goals which maximize the effect, winning the war and minimize the loss of life. Such mind war teams will win commanders' respect only if they can deliver on their promises. What the Army now considers to be its most effective PSYOP, the tactical PSYOP, is actually the most limited and primitive effort due to the difficulties of formulating and delivering messages under battlefield constraints. Such efforts must continue, but they are properly seen as a reinforcement of the main mind war effort. If we do not attack the enemy's will until he reaches the battlefield, his nation will have strengthened it as best it can. We must attack that will before it is thus locked in place. We must instill in it a predisposition to inevitable defeat. Strategic mind war must begin the moment war is considered to be inevitable, and it must seek out the attention of the enemy nation through every available medium, and it must strike at the nation's potential soldiers before they put on their uniforms. It is their homes and their communities that they are most vulnerable to mind bar. Was the United States defeated in the jungles of Vietnam, or was it defeated in the streets of American cities? And they've got a good point. Hello, Dom. How you doing, bud? But that's right. I think the Vietnam War really did fail back home. Um, and the only reason it lasted as long as it did and ruined as many people as it did, not to mention the people that died in it, it didn't have to go that way. So I guess there's 1 point for the psyops, except that they have to run them before the war or battle happens. So basically, they're telling us wait a minute, have they been running us like sheeple through the media for all these years? Do you think maybe? Couldn't be. It must seek out the attention of the enemy nation through every available medium, and it must strike at the nation's potential soldiers before they put on their uniforms. It is in their homes and their communities that they are most vulnerable to mind war. Was the United States defeated in the jungles of Vietnam, or was it defeated in the streets of American cities? To this end, mind war must be strategic in emphasis, with tactical applications playing a reinforcing supplementary role. In its strategic context, mind war must reach out to the friends, enemies, and neutrals alike across the globe. Neither through the primitive battlefield leaflets and loudspeakers of PSYOP, nor through the weak, imprecise, and narrow effort of psychotronics, but through the media possessed by the United States, which have the capabilities to reach virtually all people on the face of the earth. These media are, of course, the electronic media, television, and radio. State-of-the-art developments in satellite communication, video recording techniques, and laser and optical transmission of broadcasts makes possible a penetration of the minds of the world such as would have been inconceivable just a few years ago. Like the sword Excalibur, we must but to reach out and seize this tool, and it can transform the world for us if we but the courage and the integrity to guide civilization with it. Oh, courage and integrity, because they know what we sheeple need, right? They know best. If we do not accept Excalibur, then we relinquish our ability to inspire the foreign cultures with our morality. If they then devise moralities unsatisfactory to us, we have no choice but to fight them on a more brutish level. Mind war must target all participants if it is to be effective. It must not only weaken the enemy, it must strengthen the United States. It strengthens the United States by denying enemy propaganda access to our people and by explaining and emphasizing to our people the rationale for our national interest in a specific war. Under existing United States law, PSYOP units may not target American citizens. That prohibition is based upon the presumption that propaganda is necessarily a lie or at least a misleading half truth, and that the government has no right to lie to the people. The propaganda ministry of Goebbels must not be part of the American way of life. Quite right, and so it must be axiomatic. So it must be axiomatic of mind war that it always speaks the truth. Its power lies in its ability to focus recipients' attention on the truth of the future, as well as that of the present. Mind war thus involves the stated promise of a truth that the United States has resolved to make real, if it has not already done so. Mind war is not new. Nations' greatest and least costly victories have resulted from it, both in time of actual combat and in time of threatened combat. Consider the atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The physical destruction of those two cities did not destroy Japan's ability to continue fighting. Rather, the psychological shock of the weapons destroyed what remained of Japan's national will to fight. Surrender followed. A long and costly ground invasion was averted. Oh, good. Oh, good. See, they done good. Mind war's effectiveness is a function of its skillful use of communications media, but no greater error could be made than to confuse mind war with merely a greater and more unprincipled propaganda effort. Propaganda, as defined by Harold Laswell, is the expression of opinions or actions carried out deliberately by individuals or groups with a view to influencing the opinions or actions of other individuals or groups for predetermined ends and through psychological manipulations. End quote. Propaganda, when it is recognized as such, and anything produced by a PSYOP unit is so recognized, is automatically assumed to be a lie or at least a distortion of the truth. Therefore, it works only to the extent that a militarily pressed enemy is willing to do what we want him to do. It does not work because we have convinced him to see the truth as we see it. In his conclusions chapter of the Army's exhaustive 1976 case study of PSYOP techniques, Lieutenant John Martin affirms this coldly and bluntly, in quotes. What all this boils down to is the fact that if our persuasive communication ends up with a net positive effect, we must attribute it to luck, not science. The effectiveness of propaganda may be even less predictable and controllable than the effectiveness of more persuasive communication. End quotes. Correspondingly, propagandists are assumed to be liars and hypocrites, willing to paint anything in attractive colors to dupe the gullible. As Jacques Ellul puts it, in quotes, the propagandist is not and cannot be a believer. Moreover, he cannot believe in the ideology he must use in his propaganda. He is merely a man at the service of a party, a state, or some other organization, and his task is to ensure the efficiency of that organization. If the propagandist has political conviction, he must put it aside in order to be able to use some popular mass ideology. He cannot even share that ideology, for he must use it as an object and manipulate it without the respect that he would have for it if he believed in it. He quickly acquires contempt for these popular images and beliefs. End quotes. Unlike PSYOP, mind war has nothing to do with deception or even with selected and therefore misleading truth. Yeah, right. Shit. Yes, you're right. There's all sorts of conversations and I'm not looking. A large factor of the failure in Vietnam was the government insistence on their covert activities. The government thought by keeping secrets, it would in some way help them defeat their enemy. But even as we see now, the government secret keeping does not work. Yes, we do see that. Secrets expose a person's or a government's position's weakness, and then that weakness can be used against them. And then Bobby says over on YouTube, look at Rumble, you ding dong, and I just did, thank you. And Tom continues the thought, similar to when a person lies in a relationship in order to have an affair. There you go. Thanks, Bobby. I like it when you call me ding dong. I also like it when you say something is ding dang. So yeah. They're trying to say that unlike a psyop, which is all lies and manipulation, mind war is all about telling the truth and manipulating you to understand the truth, right? But as we've learned over the last few years, truth, as defined by who, makes all the difference, right? One man's truth is no longer another man's truth. Nowadays, I can say the sky is blue. Bobby can say it's green. Dom can say it's purple. And we're all right. Because we're all right. Because we're in clown world and it's ridiculous. There is no truth. So, this mind war, what mind war actually did first, and maybe its most successful psyop, was teaching the public, the world public, that truth is subjective. Because they did that and it works great. So unlike PSYOP, mind war has nothing to do with deception or even with selected and therefore misleading truth. Rather, it states a whole truth that if it does not now exist, will be forced into existence by the will of the United States. The examples of Kennedy's ultimatum to Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis and Hitler's stance at Munich may be cited. A mind war message does not have to fit conditions of abstract credibility as do PSYOP themes. Its source makes it credible. So, yeah, they're going even further. They will only tell the truth, and it will be the truth because they will say it's the truth. Period. I'll read that last bit again. A mind war message does not have to fit conditions of abstract credibility as do PSYOP themes. Its source makes it credible. As Livy once said, in quotes, the terror of the Roman name will be such that the world shall know that once a Roman army has laid siege to a city, nothing will move it. Not the rigors of winter, nor the weariness of months and years, that it knows no end but victory and is ready, if a swift and sudden stroke will not serve, to persevere until that victory is achieved. End quotes. Unlike Ilu's cynical propagandist, the mind war operative must know that he speaks the truth, and he must be personally committed to it. What he says is only a part of mind war. The rest, and the test of its effectiveness, lies in the conviction he projects to his audience, in the rapport he establishes with it. And this is not something which can be easily faked, if in fact it can be faked at all. Rapport, which the Comprehensive Dictionary of Psychological and Psychoanalytical Terms defines as unconstrained relations of mutual confidence, approaches the subliminal. Some researchers have some researchers have suggested that it is itself a subconscious and perhaps even ESP-based accent to an overt exchange of information. Why does one believe one television newsman more than another, even though both may report the same headlines? The answer is that there is a rapport in the former case, and it is rapport which is recognized and cultivated by the most successful broadcasters. A no pants ding dong is the greatest ding dong of all. Amen, brother. We have covered the statement of inevitable truth and the conviction behind this statement. These are qualities of the mind war operative himself. The recipient of the statement will judge such messages not only by his conscious understanding of them, but also by the mental conditions under which he receives them. The theory behind brainwashing was that physical torture and deprivation would weaken the mind's resistance to suggestion. And this was true to a point. But in the long run, brainwashing does not work because intelligent minds later realize their suggestibility under such conditions and therefore discount impressions and opinions inculcated accordingly. For the mind to believe in its own decisions, it must feel, must feel that those decisions it must feel that it made those decisions without coercion. Coercive measures used by the mind war operative, consequently, must not be detectable by ordinary means. There is no need to resort to mind-weakening drugs such as those explored by the CIA. In fact, the exposure of a single such method would do unacceptable damage to the mind war's reputation for truth. Existing PSYOP identifies purely sociological factors which suggest appropriate idioms for messages. Doctrine in this area is highly developed, and the task is basically one of assembling and maintaining individuals and teams with enough expertise and experience to apply the doctrine effectively. This, however, is only the sociological dimension of target receptiveness measures. There are some purely natural conditions under which the minds may become more or less receptive to ideas, and mind war should take full advantage of such phenomenon as atmospheric electromagnetic activity, air ionization, and extremely low frequency waves. At the root of any decision to institute mind war in the U.S. defense establishment is a very simple question. Do we wish to win the next war in which we choose to become involved? Do we wish to do so with minimum loss of human life, at minimum expense, and in the least amount of time? If the answer is yes, then mind war is a necessity. If we wish to trade that kind of victory for some more American lives, economic disaster, and negotiated stalemates, then mind war is inappropriate, and if used superficially will actually contribute to our defeat. In mind war, there is no substitute for victory. Well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if they implemented mind war. I wonder. Okay, hang on here. All right, so it's got the footnotes, but then there's also a definition of atmospheric electromagnetic activity. So the human body communicates internally by EM and electrochemical impulses. The EM field displayed in Kirlian photographs, the effectiveness of acupuncture, and the body's physical responses to various types of something. I think it might be EM radiation. Oh, yeah, of course, EM. Silly me. The body's physical responses to various types of EM radiation, like X rays, infrared radiation, visible light spectra, etc., are all examples of human sensitivity to EM forces and light and fields. Atmospheric EM activity is regularly altered by such phenomena as sunspot eruptions and gravitational stresses, which distort the Earth's magnetic field. Under varying external EM conditions, humans are more or less disposed to the consideration of the new ideas. Mind war should be timed accordingly. Per Dr. L.J. Ravitz, electrodynamic field constructs add fuel to the assumption unifying living matter harmoniously with the operations of nature, postulating that each biologic thing is organized by a total dynamic pattern, the expression of an electromagnetic field no less than non-living systems. And that points on, yeah, and as that, oh goodness, I'm almost done, thankfully. Okay. Electrodynamic field constructs add fuel to the assumption unifying living matter harmoniously with the operations of nature, postulating that each biologic thing is organized by a total dynamic pattern, the expression of an electromagnetic field no less than non living systems, and that as points on spectrums, those two entities may at last take their positions in the organization of the universe in a way both explicable and rational. Oh, good. A tenable theory has been provided for emergence of the nervous system, developing not from functional demands, but instead deriving as a result of dynamic forces imposed on cell groups by the total field pattern. Living matter now has a definition of state based on relativity field physics, through which it has been possible to detect a measurable property of total state functions. Ionization of the air, an abundance of negative condensation nuclei, or air ions, in ingested air enhances alertness and exhilaration, while an excess of positive ions enhances drowsiness and depression. Calculation of the ionic balance of a target audience's atmospheric environment will be correspondingly useful. Again, this is a naturally occurring condition caused by such varying agents as solar UV or solar ultraviolet light, lightning, and rapidly moving water, rather than one which must be artificially created. And extremely low frequency waves, or ELF waves, which are up to 100 hertz, are once more naturally occurring, but they can also be produced artificially, such as for the Navy's Project Sanguine for the submarine communication. ELF waves are not normally noticed by the unaided senses, yet their resonant effect upon the human body has been connected to both psychological disorders and emotional distortion. Infrasound vibration up to 20 hertz can subliminally influence brain activity to align itself to delta, theta, alpha, or beta wave patterns, inclining an audience towards everything from alertness to passivity. Infrasound could be used tactically as ELF waves endure for great distances, and it could be used in conjunction with media broadcasts as well. There you go. If that's not telling you, that's an awful lot of ads in there, actually. Okay, good. Yeah, if they're telling you right then and there what they're doing. There is a lot of appendices now. And at the very end, opinions and factual statements expressed herein are the responsibility of the authors and are not necessarily endorsed or verified by the publisher. Amen. I did not specifically endorse any of the ideas discussed in this book. Okay. Apparently my internet's going to be playing silly buggers, which is fine. Because guess what? That's it. Like I said, there's a lot of extra information in the appendices. I will go through them. If it's readable stuff, that's great. But it looks like an awful lot of stuff, numbers and graphs and whatnot. So it might be easier for you guys to read it on your own. So I will go through it. I will see what I think, and then I will ask your opinions and see where we go. I changed my mind on the next book we're going to read for these Wednesday things. Thanks to Jeff. He always talked about a book that he had read that he just found so helpful. And he mentioned it enough times that I actually wrote down the name of the book and the author. And the name of the book is The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat Rack. And that's what I'm going to be reading next because I bought it. I listened to him enough to buy it, but I've only just kind of barely looked at it. So I feel like it might be fitting to read the book that he suggested as the next book we do here. So yeah, that's Behold a Pale Horse. The Mystery Babylon series that Mighty and I had started, it has been put on pause. I'm trying to figure out how that's going to get done. So I will keep you guys up to date on that as I find out. And yeah, everyone have a great day. It's only 36 minutes into Johnny's stream. So if you enjoy that, go look for Just Kidding LLC. You'll find me in the chats. Otherwise, I will see you this afternoon at 4 p.m. Pacific time, where we're going to do another chatting with the chat. All right. So until later this afternoon, have a wonderful day. And yeah, I'll see you soon.
Something change from day to day. Science, art, or history's play. No path too twisted, no trail too thin. She dives right in where to begin. Nothing's too obscure. She'll dig and take a spirit so pure. From ancient lore to future dreams, every question finds its gleam. Wherever she goes, answers will follow. Into the depths or up high in the hollow. Curiosity calls. She's ready to find solutions. solutions to everything on her mind.